Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news this Wednesday morning. Now that is some fantastic political oratory. God bless that man. Beautifully said, and as Kari Lake noted in her retweeted that speech. That's basically the sentiment of millions upon millions of voters in Maricopa County and frankly, around the nation. Alright. Laura Logan is reporting that other Arizona counties like Yuba, Pye and Healer are refusing to certify their election results as well as of yesterday until there is an accounting for what happened in Maricopa County. And of course, this all goes back to the utterly absurd refusal by Katie Hobbs to recuse herself as a current Secretary of State from overseeing an election that would entail her counting the votes of her opponent. That itself was how all of this absurdity began. And it's obviously only gone downhill from there. At the very least, the late campaign is calling for an election redo in Maricopa County. She just tweeted out, quote, "If a premise is false, you don't have to accept the conclusion. The same goes for elections. When you lose by 1% and 7% of your voters are disenfranchised, you don't just shrug your shoulders and move on. You demand a satisfactory remedy for all parties involved. And this to me is what makes Kari so awesome. She refuses to just, sit back and go the way the legacy media calling the elections without so much of a hint of concern for admitted voting issues throughout Arizona's most populous county. Those issues need to be addressed and fully accounted for as an integral part of any state certification process in accordance with their election law. And that's exactly what Kari is demanding here. And of course, in the face of the same old tired lamestream media accusations of election denial and the rest of the nonsense again, coming from every single news outlet that pushed for over 3 years the conspiracy theory that Vladimir Putin stole the 2016 election, and that Hunter Biden's laptop was nothing more than Russian disinformation right before the 2020 election. So we'll obviously keep a very, very close eye on how things develop over the course of next week or so. Maricopa County, we're certainly rooting for Kari Lake, but even more so we're rooting for election integrity. Well, pretty much as predicted. As I was saying just the other day, Arizona is getting messy, of course, with a particular focus on Maricopa County. The lawsuits and investigations have already begun. Kari Lake is currently still fighting and not backing down. And probably the biggest breaking news, the Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich is demanding answers of all of the voting issues that we saw on Election Day in Maricopa County. And until those questions are answered, Arizona County Board members are refusing to certify the election results. Things are getting real messy. And it all always leads to the same point. It makes the same point every single time. These types of systems are unsustainable. They're leading to chaos, lawsuits, and of course, mistrust in the system. What's new? Here we go again. A massive clown fiesta, a cluster from the state of Arizona, specifically Maricopa County. We should always make that distinction. But of course, it is the state as a whole as well. All right, folks. So the battle continues. If you thought that the whole thing was going to wrap up, it was going to be a done deal on Election Day, well, then I would say that you might just be a little bit naive. And the craziest part to add on top of that, if you thought that it'd be done in a week, well, then I'd say you're probably just as naive. Arizona Attorney General's office demands answers to myriad voting issues in Maricopa County. These complaints go beyond pure speculation. Arizona's Assistant Attorney General says Arizona's Attorney General's office is demanding answers to myriad problems faced by Maricopa County voters on Election Day, breathing new life into the campaign for Republican gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake, who has refused to concede to Democratic Governor-elect Katie Hobbs. Assistant Attorney General Jennifer Wright sent a letter Saturday to Maricopa County's attorney's office demanding explanations for the election issues before the results can be certified next week. The Elections Integrity Unit of Arizona Attorney General's office has received hundreds of complaints since Election Day pertaining to issues related to the administration of the 2022 general election in Maricopa County. Wright wrote these complaints go beyond pure speculation but include first-hand witness accounts that raise concerns regarding Maricopa County's lawful compliance with Arizona election law. Arizonans deserve a full report and accounting of the myriad of problems that occurred in relation to Maricopa County's administration of the 2022 general election. She continued, as the canvas is looming and these issues relate to Maricopa County's ability to lawfully certify election results. The unit requests a response to the aforementioned issues on or before Maricopa County submits its official canvass to the Secretary of State, which must occur on or before November 28, 2022. In other words, until the full official canvass is submitted to Katie Hobbs overseeing her own election. According to Maricopa County election officials, at least 60 voting locations experienced issues with their ballot-on-demand printers. The Assistant Attorney General is demanding an in-depth report addressing those issues as well as the checkout procedures at each polling location in each location's official ballot report. Thomas Liddy, the Civil Division Chief at Maricopa County's Attorney's Office, told Fox News Digital that his office will start gathering the materials necessary to respond to Wright's letters. "I saw a copy of the letter Saturday evening," Liddy said. "I will convene with my clients and begin the process of gathering materials necessary to respond. As you are undoubtedly aware, Mrs. Wright is working on the AG's final report for the 2020 election. I am looking forward to receiving that as well." Like, who was endorsed by former President Trump, has claimed her voters were unfairly disenfranchised on Election Day. "Rest assured, I have assembled the best and brightest legal team, and we are exploring every avenue to correct the many wrongs that have been done this past week. I'm doing everything in my power to right these wrongs. What happened to Arizonans on Election Day is unforgivable." Lake told the Daily Mail on Saturday that she still believes she will become governor of Arizona. "Now, regardless of what happens here, you definitely shouldn't be setting yourself up for disappointment expecting that somehow miraculously, this whole thing is going to be turned around. But to get back to the point that I was making, regardless of what happens here, something has to be done. Republicans have to stand up. Because the point that Kari Lake is making, the grievance that she is identifying with the system, is absolutely disenfranchising Republican voters. We know the data. We see it every single time on Election Day. Election Day votes favor Republicans significantly. Democrats would rather opt in for the mail-in ballots, but people who show up on Election Day, a large majority of them are Republican voters. That is just a simple fact. We have seen it, we have analyzed the data. It's not something you could argue against. And so we're talking about disenfranchising voter turnout on Election Day in the most highly populated county in Arizona. People showing up to vote in the system, not working voting machines breaking down on Election Day, possibly negatively affecting voter turnout on Election Day. And considering how close the governor's race was, with 99% of the vote in only a 17,000 vote split, the people of Arizona demand answers, and what we're hearing from Maricopa County election officials, well, it's just not cutting it. Everyone listen to this. Hi, I'm Bill Gates, chair of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. One of the questions that we've been getting since the general election on November 8 is, did the printer problems on Election Day impact Republican-leaning areas more than Democratic-leaning areas? Well, as your supervisor, I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to cast their vote. And we've reviewed this issue. And we found that the 70 vote centers that were impacted by the printer issues were spread all across Maricopa County, and they did not impact one part of the valley more than the other. Thank you for your question on this issue, and look forward to more updates this weekend. Okay, folks, see, here's the thing: Maricopa County politically is pretty split down the middle, 50-50. Of course, there's more Democrat areas, more Republican areas. Maricopa County officials are claiming that, well, it was widespread. The system broke down everywhere, therefore we are completely exonerated. But that argument, of course, falls apart almost immediately. Because if you think about it, areas are Republican-leaning on Election Day. Therefore, the whole system breaking down as widespread as it did, if it did have an impact, clearly would have disproportionately impacted Republican voters more than anyone else. This is a dishonest response from the Maricopa County election chairman, and this is what's so frustrating, because people have legitimate grievances. People have legitimate questions about how elections are conducted. It's been 2 weeks since Election Day, the result is still not finalized. And not to mention, they're still counting votes. That is simply unacceptable. And add on top of that the system breaking down on Election Day, the wild disconnect between the pre-election day polling data and the actual results. Arizona voters once again have questions, and they deserve to be answered thoroughly with the stats, with a deep investigation, providing clear transparency into what happened. You know, these election officials and the Democrat media are just brushing this thing off. People have questions, are wacky conspiracy theorists, extremists, blah, blah, whatever deniers, but nothing is going to change until people's faith in the system is restored. And right now, this system is making hundreds of 1,000s, if not a little bit over a million voters, lose faith, lose trust, and feel disenfranchised. And that is simply fundamentally wrong. And so, of course, the messy fight continues. We know for damn sure that Democrats are going to try their hardest to fight for a continued lack of transparency and to avoid answering the tough questions, but hopefully in the end Kari Lake continues to battle and finally gets to the bottom of what's going on here. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to watch the next episode. Goodbye.